Satipatthana themes, Satipatthana themes and instructions cultivates sati, mindfulness established in the body, various postures, walking, sitting, moving, shifting around, internal, external, different aspects, elements, organs, phenomena. It gradually gets less differentiated. Something like reducing the body with its, where you can get into extremely fine details about sensations and discernible features, physical features, states of energy, degrees of flexibility or agreeability, or health, sickness, pretty healthy but not quite, slightly off, really good, sort of somewhat less. You can get to fine degrees of it, differentiation. Satipatthana is to develop, is to gradually moving through differentiation to simpler references to body as phenomena arising, phenomena subsiding, like waves, to just to the extent to which there is jnana mutang, the extent to which there is just clear, direct knowing. Body, this is body. So the sense of it's a big body, a small body, male, female body, old body, young body, body full of vigour, body not so vigorous, body frankly slacking, frankly decrepit. Just body. And kind of because then there's less reactivity, less citta, gets less activated by it all. And peaceful. Deactivation. Perception shifts, you shift the perceptions. Sanya. Old, young, big, small, good state, not so good state, vigorous, tired. Yeah, definitely are different, and yet what they all have in common is bodily. Body. So referring to that, then the citta relinquishes some of the determinations and distinctions. And it's the quality of attention shifts, something more all-inclusive, expansive, less highly differentiating. It's all body, yeah, that's true. Not avoiding anything, you're just kind of taking it down to a more primary level. And then what's there, attention subsides, in other words it's less active, less qualifying, less scurrying around, less comparing and contrasting. Attention subsides, doesn't mean we're not alert, but the differentiating qualities of attention can be relaxed, unless they get activated by it. And then what's left is just this bare jnana mutang, or Udang, the extent of jnana. It's all one can be aware of it. There's awareness of it. So there's this, we're going to say, source. We're getting right down to the source of body, where body begins to be experienced, and then as citta attends to that, then attention, that's that, which of course is part of, which sock goes on which foot is good to know, which ends up, which ends down, walking, standing, and yet, so we can go to differentiations, and yet also recognizing you can go to something less differentiated. So the differentiations that occur are not sort of marred by craving, anxiety, gloom, infatuation. And just, this is body when it's bright and vigorous, it's like this. Energy is strong. Energy is not strong. Quite sick. Instead of the kind of clamour that can go on around these shifting phenomena. Now, of course, this is a meditation exercise, cultivation that one can cultivate, develop, not to deny the level of differentiation, but just to extend beyond that, so that when there are this, as is the case, bodies get sick. Okay? Sick body. So, how do I respond to that? What do I do with it? Body is in this state. What's a skillful, clear, useful, whatever, compassionate, or accepting response to that? Rather than, oh no, I shouldn't, oh dear, what's going to happen? Help, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm pathetic, I'm useless. Can't meditate because I'm sick. Instead of all that going on, because of course we have this kind of vision or brochure meditation. You look at meditation on the brochure; they're all sitting upright, they're all in lotus, they're all got their hands, they're smiling and kind of serene. Well, the brochure's very nice brochure, but get beyond the brochure, you've got bodies with pangs, bodies with aches, bodies going strange, bodies lurching, bodies leaning, bodies twisted, bodies with funny energies running over them, bodies with dripping noses, bodies with coughs, bodies with headaches, bodies not feeling that good today, bodies wanting to lie down. So we get Buddhism beyond the brochures, we're dealing with the realities. Okay, so but it's still body. Sick body is, in some respects, the same as a healthy body. It's still, there's earth, there's kind of fire, there's subdued fire or not much fire, there's kind of qualities arising. And you can be in that and patient, okay, and taking the pressure off the citta to get flustered about it all. This. And learning to be with that, it's certainly in long-term practice, long-term, all-day practice, long retreat practice, times in body is just not very good at all, in terms of ordinary conditions, Cold body, dull body, it's good at 9 o'clock in the morning, it's pretty good. 4 o'clock in the morning, not that good. Still, body is here. Okay? Can I open to that? Low body, body with low energy, okay? breathing in, keeping the eyes open, using energy to straighten the spine, contemplate space, just what's needed to be able to sustain some, mindfulness of this. And this makes the practice much more all-weather. Because weather, as you know, is a very changeable thing. And that's internal, external in all respects. So all weather is better than sunny day, Sunday afternoon, practice. Particularly because we begin to meet our responses and reactions. A feeling of, fed up. I can't do this. I'm always stuck in this. I can't manage. I've had enough. Something wrong with me. Because out of these responses and reactions, which are certainly understandable, completely understandable, the familiarity of those responses becomes the cage I am. Familiarity, immediate jump into conclusion, immediate response is a reaction, familiar reaction. That's me. This isn't really me, but that's what becomes me, myself. And then, so let's not get too theoretical about it. It's not that something evil about that. It's just that actually becomes myself. It's not just a metaphysical problem. It's actually an experienced limitation. Something in my citta doesn't go beyond these familiar, repeated reactions. It almost inclines to those. That's not good. If you're looking for freedom, these familiar, compulsive, it's not good. It's not it. Because it kind of closes the citta into a huddle, or into something that feels really like a prison, stuck in one's own emotional responses, psychological responses. Because what starts off as an emotion of dislike becomes a psychology. It's not fair. It's not right. So what starts off as an emotion, sankhara, the immediate fresh, bright surge of resistance, becomes, I can't, it shouldn't happen, there's something wrong with me. Therefore I have to do something else to get away from this. So, this process is continually shaping our cul-de-sacs, our dead ends, our limitations. Yeah. And something the citta inclines to familiar because the known, now I know where I am. If I get it all known, I'll feel secure and okay. Sounds reasonable. But that quest, if I can make it all, what's familiar becomes good and okay, sounds like a reasonable project. You try and fulfill that project. You find you can meet some considerable obstacles versus other people. That's a major obstacle because they don't quite go the way that feels familiar and okay to me. There's the weather, there's my body getting sick, there's any number of experiences, including, of course, the emotional movements of feeling depressed, feeling anxious, feeling worried, feeling misunderstood, and sort of like all that one goes back to, and you feel this sense of going back to the same narrative, like a moth to a flame, still flying the same old sputtering candle. Do I have to keep doing this? The same set of grievances and frustrations and self-criticism. Because what's familiar seems to be attractive, of course. Otherwise, it's sweet and it's dangerous. Because it gradually wraps around and constrains and limits what the citta could be unbounded, unrestricted. And this movement, differentiation, it illuminates, it empowers the aggregates. Feeling becomes dominant. Perception, that way my take on things, my impressions of things becomes really the real truth. My reactions and responses become, that's the way things I'd go. And so, so the aggregates become dominant. And then, like the analogy is, the aggregates, so the analogy the Buddha uses, or it might be Sariputra, I'm not sure, where it says the 5 aggregates are like 5 visitors who come to your front door and say, oh, we're coming to help you. Oh, good, come in. We're coming to serve you. We'll provide you with pleasant feeling. We'll provide you with familiar impressions. We'll provide you with, good ways to do things. Oh, please come in. They come in, they make themselves at home, and then they assassinate the person, the host, strangle him, stab him. How is that? Because when one's brought into feeling starts to give you some unpleasant feeling, and you can't meet it. You can't meet it. Once you've bought into perception, impressions, then you start to get the ones that are unpleasant, disagreeable. Perceptions of other people, perceptions of yourself, perceptions of, you name it, monastery, for example, in which one can do any number of takes. Lovely peaceful refuge, trees and flowers and nobody bothering me, food, shelter, no taxes. Yeah, or it could be a place where I have to follow rules, go to this and that and the other. Yeah. Could be, spiritual companions who keep precepts. It could be, well, he's spaced out. She's a control freak. She could be. And something really impelled towards that, to make things really clear. But we're not really trying to make things clear in terms of differentiations, to be clear about how and why we differentiate and what good it does. So we're looking for not just the truth getting scientifically accurate or psychologically sharp about ourselves or others, which has a certain validity to it, yeah. You know, a bit neurotic or whatever, you know. But does that lead to the ending of suffering and stress? So the truth is there are mental factors arising. Citta does this, it does that. This is just citta. This is just sensitivity, shimmering, vibrating, surging, subsiding, contracting, expanding, scattering. It's just this. So we kind of dip deeper beneath, within the aggregates, to that which lights them up, that which switches them on, that which makes them potent and domineering. Do you see what I mean? So the Tathagata dwells unrestricted, with citta unrestricted by the 5 aggregates, unrestricted by defilement, unrestricted by aging, sickness, death, unrestricted by suffering. Certainly the Buddha's body experienced considerable amounts of distress and pain. He didn't like it. And, you know, he made reasonable attempts to keep it, take a rest, keep it in good order. Yeah, of course, that's the response. And yet, eventually, it's like this, it's this age, it's falling apart. So be it, that's the way it is. Without getting tragic about it. How could it be any other way? Nothing tragic. How could it be any other way? That which is born degenerates and dies. So we can see differentiations between being young and being old, or whatever you call it, being vigorous and being lacking vigor, and yet a differentiation isn't the dominant feature. The dominant feature is there is body. It's like this. So whatever one's conditions, right, just beginning to learn how to meet the conditions in a way that's calm, steady, clear, honest, non-reactive. And what is it's experiencing that? Where does this occur? Could say, simple question. It occurs in this domain, this experience, this territory I call body. And what's that? Solidities, fluidities, caloricity, cohesiveness, movement, rising, passing, presence. It's, as the fact, fundamental fact, presence. It's present. You can do what you like with that word, but there's a sense of, yep, it's a location, definitely, there it is. And, what's the difference between being awake and being asleep? Being asleep, the citta drifts away. There's no real presence. There's plenty of phenomena, dream states, but that sense of something like locates, holds, stabilizes, gives definite location. That's body. So as we cultivate, you can feel pain in your shoulders, discomfort in your shoulders, yes, but beneath that, or around that, the whole body is present. And there's this kind of vibration, top left corner, seems to be left, that's what I call it, but actually I don't even know that, I just know there's a vibration with feeling streaming out of it. Okay. Is something wrong? No, bodies do this. I mean, take the me out of it. Take this phantom me out of the topic. This is pretty much the status quo of a human body. Right? Look at it globally. Good scan of global bodies, they do this. They're present, and there's some energy, some feeling streaming through them, quite often disagreeable. And actually this one isn't too bad. It's not kind of teeth-gritting agony, it's just don't like it. And so, okay, then can you expand your awareness to include the whole body? There's the streaming of uncomfortable feelings surging down the left shoulder, what I call the left shoulder, but forget that. It's just a streaming, heat, light, energy shifting, tension, vibrations occurring around that. Okay, and there's the whole body, this territory. Why don't I just, bearing those phenomena in mind, that flaring, that vibrating, that surging, widen my awareness to include the whole body. Only the intensity of the reaction shifts. We're no longer so pinned by that phenomenon. It's something more spacious, and the spaciousness of the body helps to absorb the intensity of the feeling, lessens it. The feeling lessens, perception, shoulder, wishing it could be better, that ceases. With the ceasing of attention, there's a ceasing of dhammas. That is, when attention no longer grips and gets activated, dhammas, such as disappointment, frustration, irritation, fidgeting, fussing, complaining, comparing, wondering what you do, cease. Oh, that's a weight off the mind, weight off the heart. This is possible. The liberation of the heart is possible. Pleasant body, not possible. Sorry. But that's the truth. Steady, pleasant, totally peaceful, comfortable body, not possible. Get used to it. And so our response is, rather than feeling indignation or frustration or getting rattled, okay, so here it is again. Widen, soften the attitudes, widen the perspectives. Feel the whole body, ground the body on the floor, the earth beneath you, the space around you is widening. And the mental flutter, the emotional agitation dies down. We open into a domain of patience, domain of equanimity, patience, equanimity. Doesn't ask for results, peaceful. Becomes not just an act, it becomes a territory to dwell in. Yeah. This is possible. Once again, to emphasize doesn't mean we don't do anything about a body, right? But from that basis, actually, maybe straighten a little bit, take your time, breathing in, breathing. Maybe there's something that could be done. And so, to recognize, but remember, it's all a temporary remedy, isn't it? You know, it goes out of your shoulder and the pain goes into your stomach. Comes out of your stomach, goes into your knee. You know, or it changes into something, our body feels physically okay, but I just feel a little bit tense or unbalanced. Back's not strong enough. You know, wish I had one of those really powerful bodies that could sit like a rock for 10 hours. This pathetic weed crumples after 45 minutes. No, that's not the way. That's not the way. Body. Work with it, place of peacefulness, equanimity, compassion. Then whatever happens, you stay in the place of peacefulness, equanimity, compassion, and so on. So we learn a lot from being embodied. That's the beauty of it. It may seem in some sense like a bit of a sentence, you know, you got born, you're going to be with this, and you get increasingly feeble, and eventually some nasty disease, or it's going to bump you off, probably in a slow way. Feeling losing your dignity and not being able to do things, or feeling decrepit, and having people fuss over you and stick needles into you and stuff tubes up you, dose you with pills. Oh goodness. Oh yeah. But okay. Don't get bored again. But this is what we're with. Yeah, so is that possibility, while we have something, and we have Dhamma, teaching, to find through this form, this conditioned, can we move through that into something, more stable and spacious and unrestricted? And the answer is yes. Buddha says, I teach this Satipatthana to alleviate sorrow, grief, distress, suffering, for the purification of citta and liberation. Purifying the citta from its desperation, its reactivity, its despair, its selfhood. Its cage, its attractive cage. And this refrain, this refrain of, one is aware of phenomena arising, subsiding, fading, bursting up, welling up, samudaya, vaya dhamma, fading out. This is called sampajano, some complete, thorough, jhana, knowing, complete, thoroughly knowing. So, here's the cultivation. Sampajana is dependent on sati, being able to maintain steady, dispassionate, receptive focus. So sati is both active, you place it, it stabilizes, it firms up, it resists restlessness, distraction, resists them, and it absorbs, it's receptive to the phenomenon in a dispassionate way. It's not me, not mine, it's just the phenomenon. Pleasant as unpleasant, pleasant, unpleasant, feels like this. Yeah. Again, course, we'd like to be pleasant all the time. But actually, this is not the way it goes, as we know. So we get used to this too, physically pleasant, physically unpleasant. Or that, when you look at it more subtly, pleasant is that which you're quite happy to be with a bit longer. The unpleasant is something you have to bear with until it passes. Yeah. So we can generally bear with the unpleasant. It doesn't mean it's pleasant, it just means we're bearing with it. So, okay, this will end, okay, fine. Well, yeah, we can do that, but to be honest, it's disagreeable. We don't have to get into a state about that. Just recognizing that's how it manifests. It's unpleasant. It's got just as much right to be here as pleasant. It's a colour of the rainbow. When I give a talk, some of it's probably agreeable, some of it you think, oh, get this over with. Yeah, fine. That's the way it goes, isn't it? I'd like it to be constantly pleasant, but it isn't going to be. If it's not agonising, but like that, isn't it? Days are nice bits you have to kind of bear with, some bits you have to kind of really hold on for, disagreeable, and then pleasant bits you rather like. That's the way it goes. It's not something fundamentally wrong. And then one can, the intention, and we keep remembering and reminding, is towards stability, mindfulness, resolution, parami, patience, virtue, harmlessness, loving kindness, so forth. That's the intention. How that's read is kind of person specific. You take responsibility for that. Getting fed up. But it's not saying you shouldn't feel fed up. It's just this is one throw of the dice, isn't it? And what's it like? This is citta doing fed up. When citta does its fed up, what's it like? And when citta's doing its, oh, this would be good, it's like this. When citta's doing, it's how dare they, it's like this. When citta's doing, oh, wonderful, it's like this. You can go into those and make much of those, or you could say these are the weather of the citta. And in 1 hour of sitting, you can generally go through a few weather patterns, just sitting still, from interested to excited to stuck to fed up to hopeless to liberated to half liberated to, there you go, there we go again. Citta's doing its magic, its light show. And all this is citta. What is it? Sensitive, definitely sensitive. Receives impressions. Responsive, it definitely vibrates and shimmers, moves, gets going, activates. And fundamentally, it's this just sensitive medium. Just this. So then we feel that, the disagreeable citta starting to bristle and get spiky. Contemplate. Spiky, bristling. And when I no longer act upon it or feel embarrassed by it or project it out onto either myself, something wrong with me, I'm such a crabby old git, or onto other people. It's this. Only something opens beyond that. Citta opens beyond that. It's like it's no longer contained within that, bashing up against it, just accepts that quality, and suddenly the heat goes out. Then powerfully the bristling begins to relax. Because I'm not contained by this, I'm not constrained by it, I'm not shut down in it, I don't have to do anything about it, I'm not, because it's not me. So, and naturally we have familiar patterns, whether they're grumpy or chatty or sort of fizzy energy or slack. Then responding to that, how you meet that, so that the citta is not denying it or escaping from it, or not denying it or diverting from it, but just opening through that. And there's this something more constant. Presence of sensitivity, presence of awareness. Just one is contemplate these phenomena, not to go on to the differentiations, but to return to the source, citta arising. With the arising of citta is the arising of nama rupa. Differentiate behaviors and appearances. Rupa, that which appears, behaviors, that which gets going on it. With the fading, cooling, the non-manifesting of citta, the ending of nama rupa. It's possible for these, like waves of the ocean, could become extremely choppy and high and crashing, or they could subside into something more oceanic. Something like that. The energy of citta isn't going out into differentiation. Just contemplate, when it goes into differentiation, isn't that when the sense of the familiar person arises? Here's me getting flustered, here's me doing my panicky bits, here's me doing my... That's kind of... as long as it's ethically okay, it's okay, but yet it could be bigger than this. Could be more steady and stable than this. Could release this. By meeting those responses with sampajano, with full, direct knowingness, without the complexities of should and couldn't. The energy that generates the familiar and the compulsive is withdrawn into something more stable and expansive, boundless, unrestricted. This is possible. For us not to experience phenomena that touch us and make us feel anxious, disappointed, sometimes frustrated, saddened. This, I don't think, is possible. in this conditioned existence. But there's a possibility to meet those and almost return to the source of sensitivity and awareness. And then a more wise response, more can come from a citta that's not shaking or restricted or tight. As the Buddha himself, we look at that example, and certainly Buddha is a beautiful image, a wonderful, phenomenal person. But when you actually get a picture of his life, it was pretty much it was quite a hassle actually. Apart from the physical conditions of living on the road in India, which is tough already, and whatever food turns up, and sickness, it's normal. Normally, so-and-so was sick, was suffering from grievous pains. Oh yeah, normal. Hope you're all right. Yes, yes, Buddha, I am managing this. Kind of normal sense of because there was no very limited medicine, no anaesthetics. So you just being sick was pretty much standard experience. And Buddha, backache. He seemed to have had a bad back. And then all people kind of arguing, hassling, generating a sangha. You look in the Vinaya text, there's always some monk or nun getting up some shenanigans. The Buddha having to sort it out. Foolish man, I've not told you. Disputes, fractions, and people trying to kill him. Own cousin trying to kill him. Yes, it's all like, wow, what a cosy life. And yet keeping it going. So there's a really poignant story. I mean, it's a story, so who knows? But where the king, I think, of Kosala, Buddha's home country, Cittaviveka, was governed or was a subject to Kosala, the kingdom of Kosala. And they'd cut the story a bit short. They'd done a profound insult. The people of Sakya had been proud. They were apparently renowned for being proud and haughty. They'd done a grievous insult to the king. Very, so he comes up with it. He's going to wipe them out. He's so furious. So he comes up, gets his army, comes up to the Cittaviveka, and the Buddha knows he's coming, so the Buddha rushes there, sits in front of the gate. And the king sees the Buddha and says, "Oh, Venerable Sir, please, Venerable Sir, step aside." The Buddha says, "The shade of my kinsman keeps me cool, great king." In other words, no. And the king withdraws. Buddha goes away, the king does it again, second time. The Buddha sits in front of the gate. "The shade of my kinsman keeps me cool, O king." The king withdraws. Comes back a third time. The Buddha goes, "No, there's nothing I can do." The king then, his army attacks and kills lots of people. Now you may think that's a pretty sad story, and it is a sad story. Very sad story. And who knows what, if you were the Buddha and some of you, maybe some of your distant relatives were in that town, how you'd feel, what could be felt, discerned, experienced. Yeah. Can any of us stop our parents dying, feeling pain, feeling sick? Can we stop our friends dying, feeling sick, feeling in pain? As I come to this time in my life, people I knew of my age, some are dead already, some are dying, some are sick. Can I stop it? How does it feel? My brother died, but how did that feel? You do something about it? Does it mean you're pathetic, useless because you can't do something about it? Or is it just that which can be done, sometimes things can't be done. There's a limit. There's a restriction on action, but there's no restriction on awareness and presence. So we base ourselves on that. We act kindly, compassionately, truthfully, when the occasion becomes possible. And this is cultivation, to know that, and to know what is possible, and to bear skillfully with what is possible, patiently. What is possible can be done, slowly, patiently, carefully. And in either of those you don't have to lose presence or awareness. So let's take some time to enter our silence and respond to conditions.